Let me ask you a question. Um, it might sound a little trivial at first, maybe even, well, maybe superficial. But I want you to really pause and think about it. When you got dressed this morning, were you just covering your body so you wouldn't be naked in public? Or were you putting on a mindset?
It really creates a completely different context for the day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's the difference between function, just staying warm and actual intention.
Exactly. Because we have this massive stack of research, brand manifestos, and some really interesting customer data in front of us today that suggests, well, most of us are doing this completely wrong.
We really are.
We treat clothes as either utility or aesthetic, like, does this look good on me? But we rarely treat them as psychological tools.
Which is a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, we usually think of fashion as external signaling, how the world perceives us, status, fitting in.
Right.
But the materials we are diving into today flip that entirely. It's not about how the world sees you. It's about how you see yourself. It creates this feedback loop between the fabric on your skin and the neurons firing in your brain.
And to explore this, we are doing a deep dive into the philosophy behind a brand called BKLEO clothing. Now, usually we are tearing apart, academic journals or news reports on this show.
Yeah, the usual heavy stuff.
Right. But today, we are analyzing a brand manifesto, a stack of very personal customer testimonials, and a specific guide we got our hands on titled, Why Empowered People Choose BKLEO Clothing Daily.
It's a fascinating read.
It is. And the core premise here is wild. They claim that empowered people don't just pick what matches, they pick what aligns.
And just to set the stage, before we go further, while we are looking at this specific brand as our case study today, the underlying principle here is a legitimate, well-researched psychological concept called enclosed cognition.
Enclosed cognition. Okay, that sounds intense. Break that down for us before we get into the hoodies and the slogans.
Put simply, it's the scientific idea that the symbolic meaning of your clothes, combined with the physical experience of actually wearing them, changes your cognitive processes.
Wow.
Yeah, it changes how you think, how you focus, how you behave. There was this famous study where people wearing a doctor's white coat paid significantly more attention to tasks than people wearing a painter's coat.
Even though it was the same coat, right?
Exactly the same coat, just described differently to the participants.
So this isn't just about wearing a shirt with a cool slogan. It's essentially, it's like cognitive behavioral therapy that you can wear. You put on the costume of the person you want to be, and your brain just follows suit.
That is a great way to put it. It's external scaffolding for your internal state.
We have a lot to unpack here. We're going to look at how clothing acts as environmental design. We'll break down the specific psychology behind their slogans, which basically act as mantras. And we'll end with a really practical daily framework that I think is going to change how you get ready tomorrow.
It's a game changer for sure.
But let's start with that first big concept from the source material. Clothing as environmental design.
This is where the source material gets really interesting to me. It argues that empowered people treat clothing as mental preparation.
Okay.
Now, consider environmental design and architecture. We know that if you sit in a cluttered, chaotic, dimly lit room, your mind feels cluttered. You get anxious.
Yeah, if I'm in a messy kitchen, I'm definitely not cooking a Michelin star meal.
Right. But if you sit in a structured, clean, quiet library, you tend to focus. The environment dictates the state.
Makes sense.
But the argument here is that your clothing is the most immediate environment you have. It is the environment that is literally touching your skin for 16 hours a day. You carry that room with you everywhere you go.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
Because you can't always control the room you're in.
Exactly.
You might be in a chaotic open plan office or a noisy subway car or a messy house with kids running around, but you have 100% control over the environment of your own body.
Precisely. You are curating your immediate sensory input. If the world is chaos, your clothing can be the order.
The source uses a phrase to describe this that I think is just so punchy. Built different.
Oh, yeah.
It says when you wear a message like built different, it's not just ink on fabric. You're wearing a decision.
It's about identity assertion. Think about it. If you walk around all day wearing a shirt that says built different, you are subtly forcing yourself to live up to that standard.
You kind of have to.
Right. It creates cognitive dissonance if you act lazy or give up easily while wearing that shirt. You don't want to be a hypocrite to your own chest.
That's so true. It's like a contract you signed with yourself in the morning. You look in the mirror, see the words, and you're kind of locked in.
And the source makes a crucial point about consistency here. It says empowered people aren't trying to be motivated once a week. They're trying to be aligned every day.
I want to drill down on that distinction because I think it's one of the key insights of this entire deep dive. The difference between motivation and alignment.
It's a big difference.
Motivation is that burst of energy you get after watching a Rocky movie or listening to a hype track. It feels great, but it usually fades by Tuesday afternoon.
Because motivation is an emotion.
Huh?
And emotions are fleeting. They are the weather. Alignment is a state of being. It's the climate. It's steady.
And the source brings up a scenario that I think every single person listening has felt. It calls it the negotiation phase.
Oh, man. The negotiation.
You know those mornings, the alarm goes off, it's dark, maybe it's raining outside, and instantly your mind starts a court case against your goals.
I know it intimately. I'm too tired. I can go to the gym tomorrow. 5 more minutes won't hurt.
Maybe I'm getting sick.
Yes. We become really good lawyers for our own laziness. And the source suggests that the clothing serves as a pattern interrupt.
What exactly is a pattern interrupt in this context?
It's a concept we use in behavioral psychology. When your brain is looping, spiraling into that negotiation or negativity, you need an external shock or cue to snap the track.
Yeah.
You need to derail that train of thought. The source argues that seeing the shirt or the physical act of putting on the hoodie shuts down the argument. It reminds you, I'm still that person, the person who keeps going.
It's a visual anchor. It just stops the debate.
It does. And let's be clear, it's not magic. The hoodie doesn't do the bench press for you. It doesn't write the business plan.
Unfortunately.
Right. But it changes the mental state so that you can do the work. It bridges the gap between intention and action.
So if the first step is using clothing to set your immediate environment, to control the room of your body, the second step is knowing which environment you actually need.
Yes.
This is where the source material gets really specific about matching the message to the season. And to be clear, they don't mean summer or winter.
No, they are talking about the season of life you are currently navigating. I found the source material refreshingly realistic here. It admits that even empowered people, high performers, entrepreneurs, parents, deal with fear, doubt, burnout, and tragedy. They aren't robots.
That's a really key point. High performance isn't about the absence of struggle. It's about the management of it.
Exactly. And the source suggests using specific messages on the clothes to address specific psychological deficits you might be feeling in your current season. It's almost like a prescription.
Let's look at some of these designs because the specific wording really matters here. It's not generic live, laugh, love stuff.
Definitely not.
There's one that says, fearless to the bone, nothing breaks me.
That is a heavy message.
It is. That's
Okay.
not something you wear to a Sunday picnic.
No, that is not for someone having an easy breezy week at the beach. That is for someone who is being tested.
Yeah.
Maybe they are going through a messy divorce, a job loss, a health crisis.
Yeah.
Wearing nothing breaks me is a shield. It's a reminder of resilience when you feel fragile. It's affirming the strength you don't feel yet.
It's almost like armor. Then there's stop thinking small. I feel like I need that tattooed on my forehead some days.
That one targets a completely different cognitive trap, self-limitation. That is, for the person whose potential is objectively higher than their current habits or their current output.
The person who is coasting. Or maybe playing it safe.
Right. Or the person who is afraid to scale because success is scary. It's a nudge to expand your scope. It's an external voice countering your internal imposter syndrome.
One of the designs that really stood out to me in the text, and this felt surprisingly grounded, is building empire, one dream at a time. That feels different. That's not about immediate explosive energy or crisis management.
No, that represents the long game. That is for the season of discipline where progress is invisible. When you are grinding away at a startup or studying for a medical degree and you aren't seeing immediate results.
The valley of despair, where you're doing the work but the world hasn't clapped for you yet.
Exactly. That shirt is the reminder that you're laying bricks. It validates the patience required for success. It shifts the focus from the outcome, which isn't here yet, to the process, which is happening right now.
Now, I know you have a favorite in this list, the Error 404 one.
Oh, absolutely. Error 404, path not found. Create your own and forge ahead.
Why does that one resonate with you so much?
Because it reframes failure.
Yeah.
It frames obstacles not as dead ends, but as system errors that require a patch. It's the philosophy of innovation.
I see.
If the path doesn't exist, the average person turns back and says, well, I guess I can't go there. The innovator, or the person wearing this mindset, says, I have to build the road. It's a very proactive, almost aggressive way to look at failure.
It turns a negative into a creative challenge. I don't see a way, so I must make one.
Correct. And then for the people who are just going pure beast mode, there's not human willpower or unhuman ambition. Those are for the outliers, the people showing up at 4 a.m. when everyone else has quit.
Those are the intensifiers. But I want to pause on one design that I think is really clever visually. It's the why not design.
Yes, the graphic design here is doing the heavy lifting. It has the word WHY inside a box and the word not sitting outside the box.
It's so simple, but it hits. What's the psychology there?
It's about curiosity versus containment. Most of us live inside the why. We overanalyze. Why should I do this? Why will it fail? Why is it risky?
We look for reasons things won't work.
Exactly. We stay inside the box of logic and reason.
Analysis paralysis. We just think ourselves into a corner.
And the not is outside the box. It represents the action that breaks the analysis. Why not me? Why not now? It challenges the status quo. It's a very entrepreneurial mindset.
Right.
Empowered people don't wait for perfect conditions inside the box. As the source says, they move when it's messy.
They move when it's messy. I highlighted that line too. That is such a good summary of the growth mindset. Now, we've talked about the message on the front, the graphic, the slogan, but we need to talk about the fabric itself.
Right.
Because the source makes a big deal out of reason number 3, which is comfort.
Which brings us to an interesting paradox.
Right, because if you're built different and fearless and unhuman, shouldn't you be tough enough to wear burlap? Shouldn't you be suffering? Like, isn't comfort weakness?
You would think so if you subscribe to that old school hustle culture idea that misery equals productivity. But the source frames this brilliantly. It says, empowered people choose comfort because discomfort is already built into the mission.
That is a profound insight. Unpack that for us.
Think about cognitive load. The brain has a limited battery pack for the day. If you are waking up at 4 a.m. to train, or you are working a 12-hour shift launching a new business, or you are raising toddlers, you are already under massive physiological and psychological stress. You are pushing your limits.
Your bucket is full, you're maxed out.
Overflowing. The last thing you need is your hoodie fighting you.
So it brings up the distinction between stiff, scratchy fabrics versus soft, stretching ones.
It's about friction reduction. Physical discomfort, an itchy tag, a tight collar, a fabric that doesn't breathe, takes up brain space. It's a background process running on your mental computer.
I've never thought about it like that.
By choosing premium, comfortable fabrics, you're closing that background process. You are eliminating the friction, so 100% of your energy goes to execution.
So physical comfort equals better performance. It's not about being soft, it's about being efficient.
Exactly. It's value engineering your day. You save the struggle for the work, not the wardrobe.
Speaking of value, the source touches on the community aspect. BKLEO frames itself as offering premium quality without the premium markup, which is great for the wallet, but what really stood out to me were the stats provided.
Right, the social proof. They cite over 12,000 happy customers, a 4.8 out of 5 rating, and a 91% recommendation rate.
Those are objectively strong numbers for any brand.
They are, but in the context of our discussion on psychology, they signal something specific. Tribalism.
How so?
High retention and high recommendation rates mean people aren't just buying a shirt because it looked cool on an Instagram ad once. They are staying. They are joining a tribe.
It's not a transaction, it's a membership.
When you see those numbers, it tells you that the customers feel understood by the brand. They feel like they are amongst peers. They aren't chasing hype. They're joining a movement that aligns with their values.
It validates that this isn't just clothing, it's a shared identity. And that leads us perfectly into the next segment, which I actually found really moving, the testimonials. Because usually, let's be honest, reviews are like, great fit, fast shipping, would buy again.
Right. Functional, boring.
But these reviews read like diary entries. They are surprisingly vulnerable.
And that reinforces the psychological concept of identity transformation.
Let's look at Marcus J. He says the clothing reminds him every day that he is, quote, not who I used to be. I'm stronger.
See, that is enclosed cognition in action. He is using the clothing to sever ties with his past self. It is a daily reaffirmation of his new identity. He's looking in the mirror and seeing the new version of Marcus. He's rewriting his own character.
And Ashley R. says it feels like stepping into my purpose. And Daniel K. says his hoodie is a reminder of how far I've come.
Notice the pattern. None of them are talking about fashion trends. None of them said, this matches my sneakers. They're talking about personal history and future trajectory.
It's narrative identity. They're telling a story about themselves.
Exactly. The expert insight here is that identity is not a fixed thing. You don't just decide, I am strong once and stay that way forever. You have to tell yourself that story every single day. The clothing acts as the narrator of that story. Repetition creates identity.
Repetition creates identity. That's the big takeaway right there. So we've covered the theory, the messages, the comfort, and the social proof. But the source material included something that I think is absolute gold for you listening if you love practical takeaways. They call it the Daily Empowerment Outfit Framework.
This is a great system, and what I appreciate is that the source explicitly says you can use this framework whether you shop at PKLEO or not. It's a method for dressing with intention.
Let's break it down. It's a three-step process. Step one is choose your message.
Right. This is the identity step. Instead of standing in front of your closet and asking the passive question, what matches these pants? You ask the active question, who do I need to be today?
That's a big shift. It forces you to look at your calendar.
It does. If you have a scary presentation to the board, you might need courage. So you'd pick something that aligns with fearless. If you're feeling lazy but need to get deep work done, you pick building empire. You are selecting the character trait you need to embody for the next 12 hours.
It's proactive rather than reactive. Then step two is choose your function. This is the mission part.
This is the logistical check. Match the piece to the activity. Are you training, working, traveling? If you need to be agile, don't wear something heavy. It's about respecting the mission you are on. You wouldn't wear a wetsuit to a library. It's about removing friction.
But step three is where the magic happens. Choose your anchor.
This is the behavioral psychology cruncher. The source suggests turning the outfit into a trigger for a specific habit.
Explain how that works.
In habit formation, we talk about if-then contingencies. If I brush my teeth and I floss, the source says use the clothing as the if.
The examples they give are great. You put the shirt on, and that is the signal to immediately journal for 3 minutes, or walk for 10 minutes, or make that phone call you've been avoiding.
It creates a Pavlovian response.
Yeah.
If I put on this hoodie, then I write 500 words. If I tie these shoes, I walk out the door. Over time, the clothing itself becomes a prime for the behavior. You put it on, and your brain automatically switches into work mode or training mode because it knows what comes next. You're systematizing your wardrobe.
That is such a huge hack. It takes the willpower out of it. The clothes do the heavy lifting for your habits.
Exactly. It turns getting dressed from a chore into a ritual. You aren't just putting on cotton. You're triggering a sequence of success.
So we've looked at the collections mentioned in the source, things like Fearless Frequency, Game Changer, and Awakened. It seems like BKLEO really covers the gamut for men, women, and kids.
Yes, and they have clear categories like new arrivals and most wanted to make navigation easy. But the underlying theme across all of them, whether it's a kid's hoodie or an adult's tank top, is this empowerment through style.
If you are listening to this and you're thinking, okay, I need to upgrade my environment, I need to fix my daily triggers, you can check them out at bgleoclothing.store. The source also mentions they have a newsletter for updates, sales, and rewards, which is a good way to stay in the loop.
And they invite you to share what chapter you're in right now. Again, reinforcing that community aspect. It asks you to self-reflect before you even buy.
So what does this all mean for us? We started with the question of whether you are putting on clothes or putting on a mindset. I think the answer is pretty clear.
It is. The clothes you wear are a tool you use every single day. You can use them to blend in and hide, or you can use them to level up and focus. The source material drives home the point that the message you wear becomes the message you live. It's about conscious alignment.
It makes you think twice about grabbing that old stained t-shirt just because it's at the top of the pile, doesn't it?
It certainly does. That stained t-shirt is a subconscious signal that says, today doesn't matter. It's a missed opportunity to set the tone.
I want to leave you with a thought that really stuck with me from reading through this guide. We often wait until we feel confident to dress confidently. We wait until we feel successful to look the part. But the source flips that script entirely. It suggests that if you are waiting to feel empowered before you dress the part, you have the order backward.
That is the crucial takeaway. Action precedes motivation. Change the outside, and the inside catches up.
What if the simple act of gearing up putting on that fearless shirt or that empire hoodie is the only permission slip you actually need to start the transformation? Don't wait for the feeling, put on the gear, and let the feeling follow.
And if I can add one final thought to that.
Go for it.
Think about the people around you. Enclothed cognition doesn't just work on you. When you wear a message like built different or stop thinking small, You are subtly reprogramming the environment for everyone who reads your shirt. You're not just giving yourself a permission slip. You might be giving one to the person standing behind you in line for coffee.
I love that. You become the pattern interrupt for someone else's negotiation phase. What a profound way to look at it. Thanks for diving in with us today. Go check out your closet, see what messages you are sending yourself and others, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.